Hey folks, today I'm going to be doing the ReRead Book Tag. This was created by Just One Reader and I was tagged by Wilson Shugart, so thank you Wilson for tagging me in this. It's a pretty short tag, it's 6 questions and it's all about reread, so we'll just jump right into it. The first question is a book from your childhood that you want to reread. And it's funny, I was just talking with somebody not a week ago about this book called The 100 Dresses by Eleanor Estes. And it won the Newbery Award in 1945 and has not gone out of print since then. But this is about a girl named Wanda Petronsky who moves to a small Connecticut town with her brother and her father. And while she's in school, she just gets mercilessly teased because she always wears the same faded blue dress to school. And she tells her classmates that she has 100 more dresses at home, and of course they don't believe her and they end up teasing her more for it. All the while there's another classmate, a girl, who is sort of observing all this stuff from the sidelines and debating about whether or not she should stick up for Wanda. And she gets abruptly pulled out of school, Wanda does, and the circumstances are not really known. But I remember this book sticking with me a lot, and I still think about it from time to time. And it's funny that I haven't really made any moves or attempts to find a copy or to reread a copy, but I might actually reread it this month, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Question number 2 is a book you want to reread because you didn't like it the first time. That book for me is The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. I recall reading this book shortly after I graduated from high school and really not liking it. And I don't know if it was just youthful ignorance, but I found it to just be very whiny, and I got really upset because this woman just not being her own hero, just being kind of helpless, and I think that annoyed me a lot. But I'd like to reread it now to see if my feelings have changed, to see if my empathy gap has kind of narrowed a little bit with this story. So Steve Donahue made a video the other day where he had mentioned Sylvia Plath and how she's still very celebrated and highly regarded in the literary world, but mostly for biographical reasons and not necessarily for any remarkable literary contribution. And I thought that was really fascinating. So I'd like to go into this book again with that in the back of my head, but also just to kind of see if the writing does hold up or if I come away with it with very similar feelings that I had the first time around. So at some point I'll get to this, but this is honestly not very high on my list of priorities for reread. So question number 3 is a book you want to reread because you read it a long time ago. And for this, I'm going to go with A Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. I read this book when I was in high school proper. And I think the objective of introducing books like this to high school students is to not necessarily have them fully comprehend the themes and the subject matter, but to just act as a primer, really, so that when they encounter it again in the future, that there's some sense that they've been there before. And that's kind of how it is for me. So I am interested in seeing if some of the messages and themes contained in this book are just a little more potent the second time around. I really did enjoy it the first time, but it definitely deserves a reread. Question number 4 is a book you want to reread because you didn't understand it the first time. And this, I'm going to go with Thus Spoke Zarathustra by Friedrich Nietzsche. I'd mentioned this in a previous tag video, but I want to reread this not because I didn't understand it, but because I read it in very close proximity to The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. And there were a lot of overlapping themes and a lot of, even in structure, they're very similar. So I wanted to divorce Zarathustra from The Prophet. And I think plenty of time has lapsed since I read the two of those together. But again, I think it is one of those books also that was a lot less accessible than The Prophet. And at the age that I read it, I think there were just some things that required a little bit more life context to be able to fully appreciate. So that's definitely a book on my list that I do want to reread. Question number 5 is a book that you like even more upon a second reading / a book that will benefit from a second reading. And for this, I'm going to go with The Stranger by Albert Camus. This is a very well-loved, well-worn, every man's library edition. But again, I think this is one of those books that when I first encountered it, stylistically, I had some blocks to it. And now that I've read more authors who sort of ran in the same circles as Camus and kind of dealt with the same questions of morality and existentialism and morality on sharp decline, that my vocabulary for this sort of book is a little bit more, it's a bit stronger now than it was previously. And so I think coming back to this, kind of having had that exposure, it'll be a much more significant read the second time around, I feel like. So Sylvia and I were actually thinking about doing a reread of this sometime this summer, just to kind of revisit this, and I think it'll be beneficial reading it with somebody so that maybe if we have some questions that the other person can answer, that would be really helpful. But yeah, really excited to get to that one too. Number 6 is a book that you will reread for the rest of your life. You guys have heard me mention this book several times before, but it is Of Love and Other Demons by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This book occupies a very special place in my heart, not just because it was the first piece of adult literary fiction that was placed in my hands that I ever read. I read it when I was around 13, but also because it has very much grown up with me. So I find when I reread it, there are just things that kind of lock into place that didn't necessarily do that before, and that there's characters that I'm more drawn to and characters that I'm more repelled by, and that those dynamics keep shifting every time I reread the book. So I think that this is just one of those things that I'll always come back to, because it's just something that very much feels like home, and it very much is sort of a recalibration, I think, with my reading. It's the book that I kind of go to hit the reset button. So yeah, this is my choice for that. And if you guys haven't picked this up, try it out. I know he's not for everybody. He's not sort of an author that you can recommend to all people, but yeah, this just holds a really special place. So that's all I have for you guys today. Definitely let me know below if you love any of these books, if you hate these books, if you've read some of these books, any feedback you have, definitely leave it down in the comment section. I would love to talk to you guys about it. I also have a few more tags I'm kind of slowly making my way through, so there will definitely be some more tag videos coming soon. And as far as people I tag for this, I'm going to tag Shara Me with Books, Laura at Reading in Bed, and Erica at Eclectic Reads. So again, no pressure. Don't feel compelled to do this if you don't want to, but it would be great to see some more people do this tag. So that's it, and I will definitely see you guys very soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.